Hello and welcome back to another discussion under my corner of the internet. Welcome back to, um, it's so funny, I want to say Crossroads of Cognizance, but that's tomorrow. Welcome back to Dahlia's Discourse, Discussions with Dahlia, wherever you're seeing this. Welcome back to my little corner of the internet. I am back with you all tonight in this little mini gathering for another discussion on synchronicities. And tonight we're going to be talking about the higher mind and how that relates to synchronicities. So, before I get into it, if this is your first time joining me this week for this discussion, my name is Dahlia Rose. I am the keeper healer. I used to call myself the resident gargoyle at Crystal Cognizance when I had my shop, but I spend time servicing my community through healings, counseling, um, community gatherings, teachings, and all manner of woo-woo things that I can get my hands on or use to support people that seek me out. So, with all of that in mind, I am gathering this week to talk to you guys about synchronicities. And in the coming weeks of this year, there'll be different topics. And so if there's anything you want to hear me talk about, please drop it in the comments below. And if you have any questions about synchronicities, I am all here for it. So thank you for taking the time. Time is my love language, and so I appreciate yours. Now, with all of that, as I consider the topic of synchronicities and its multifaceted nature, um, the higher mind came to mind. um, on the road of spirituality and spiritual journey and what it means to engage in spiritual practice, it is my belief that we end up in a place where we start to approach our higher mind. We start looking for higher minded concepts and ways to connect with that part of us that isn't so bound to linear space and time or fixed ways of being. We start to expand, and you'll hear me use that word expand a lot. um, and so I thought this was a good place to bring in how synchronicities relate to the higher mind. And so, the higher mind, let's talk about what the higher mind is, how it can be defined. And that is to say, the higher mind is the part of us that transcends ego. I personally, and this will be in later discussions, I personally don't believe that the ego is truly a bad thing. I think it's capable of bad things, but it, in and of itself, is not necessarily a bad thing. Um, so the higher mind is the part of us that sort of exists outside the realm of the ego. It's free of fear, shame, guilt. The higher mind is creative. It's the part of you that drops inspiration in as it connects with every aspect of your being. And when I say every aspect of your being, I mean the parts of you that are connected multidimensionally to the plant kingdom, the animal kingdom, the crystal kingdom, and various energies out in the universe. There is a part of us in each aspect of each dimensional existence. And so um, the higher mind is a great way to connect to those things. And the higher mind also gives us sort of positive feedback. It creates a positive lens over top of things because it doesn't get lost in the minutia of the negative. In fact, it's probably easier to tell that you're in a higher minded place because as you are healing, you don't view things the same way you would have if you were stuck or in a place of pain or in a what is typically called a lower vibration. Now, in contrast to that, there is the lower mind, and you might think it's as simple as Oh, the lower mind is about negativity, and it's actually not. The lower mind is our linear mind. So it's fixed. It desires logic and reason. It wants everything to be linear. And while that has its place in our three-dimensional existence, it can keep us trapped in limited beliefs. And you'll hear that term thrown around a lot, limited beliefs. And those can include negative concepts. Limited beliefs can include negative concepts, but limited beliefs also extend to our ability to heal ourselves. So, Western medicine does have its place, but to believe that you cannot be cured from something simply because science hasn't found a way to bring that to you or to the world is in fact a limiting belief because indigenous people have found ways to cure things that plague us and have done so for centuries. And we've stepped away from that, and that is to say we've fallen into the lower mind trap. So having defined higher mind and lower mind, when we access higher minded concepts, the way that this marries with synchronicities is that you will see more synchronicities appear. And in those higher minded states, like I mentioned earlier, there's a space for creativity. And that creativity comes with being able to see more, being able to experience more. So you'll notice one synchronicity and it'll kind of uplift you, and then you'll notice another synchronicity and that'll uplift you a little more, and you'll start to access the higher mind a little more regularly for concepts, like I said, that you may not have before. And a great way to do this consciously is to play. You know, children, despite any limits on um, what we might deem as intelligence or advanced abilities, children at their purest state exist in their higher mind. They can see beyond what we can see of potential in things. This is where their ability to imagine and play and create and you know, all of that does actually come from the higher mind, and we sort of step away from that as adults. I'm reminded in this moment of a couple of days ago. In fact, it was on Saturday. My 5-year-old, who has no concept of a pizza parlor, decided that with his Lego system, he was going to, because there was a little pizza Lego in there. He was going to build a pizza parlor and there was a line and people were waiting and he had this whole story worked out in his mind, and he created a system that felt true for him, and it allowed him to be helpful to these little Lego people, which as a little Aries is like he just loves being helpful. And so looking at this amazing little boy, and I say that because he is amazing, not just because he's mine, but looking at him engage the way that he was in the creativity and then the problem solving of that small moment of creativity is exactly what is available to us when we engage with our higher mind. And I mentioned yesterday how doubt can increase the level of synchronicities in our life because we're asking the universe to continue to prove to us that we are on a particular path. The phrasing is typically, I want to be on the right path. Show me that I'm on the right path. How do I know that I'm on the right path? I'm going to invite you to reframe that to say, what path am I on? And then to ask inwardly if it's something that you want or if it's something you'd like to change. And then the next phase of today is to say that if you allow yourself to engage in the higher mind, to to not get bogged down by um, linear thinking, and let's take a moment to define that. Linear thinking being moments where you may have noticed you stated that something needed to occur before you could have an outcome that you've asked for. That's linear thinking. And a way above that is to engage with the higher mind to say, I believe this thing is possible, or, I don't have to see that this thing is possible or available to me. I just simply know that it is. The higher mind does allow you to engage on that level because you have to get creative, or not have to get creative, but you can't help but be creative when you're in that higher mind place. And so, you sort of elevate, and if you're having trouble conceptualizing what it means to access the higher mind, you can use creative techniques like creative visualization or meditation to visualize yourself walking up the staircase of your consciousness, of your mind, and ending up at that higher mind place. You can monitor your thoughts to become aware of when you're higher minded, and then use the memories of when you were in a higher mind to bring yourself back to that state. When I'm teaching meditation classes, I will often have people access their memories as a point of connection for energy, for a state of being physically, mentally, or emotionally. Because just as much as we can remember the negative, the body is so good at remembering the negative, and our mind is so good at remembering the negative. And these have all been survival techniques in the past. We can do, with practice, we can do that with the positive as well. So recall a time when you could think broadly on a topic. Recall a time that you had an aha moment. Allow your body to go through the physical memory of the aha moment where you're like, yeah, I felt expanded. I could feel my chest opening up to a thought or to a person so that, my heart and my energy could fully take these things in. Those instances will pull you into a higher minded state. As a creatively visual person, I love using imaginative techniques like um, shape shifting into an eagle. That's my shamanic side coming out, the the shape shifting piece, the traveling, the journeying piece, where I shape shift into an eagle or a hawk. And because those birds have the ability to see over situations and to see the entirety of what's going on, that is a way to pull yourself into the higher mind. And when you do so, you have access to more information. You may also have, in the beginning stages of getting into the higher mind, you may also have moments where a synchronicity could be created. And so you get into a higher minded state and you feel like, I need to go to this place. There's something there for me if I drive to this store or I drive to this park or I go on this adventure. And then you follow that guidance and it turns out that there's things available there for you. To share a personal story, I've had some instances where I felt like if I walk a certain path, I'll receive a feather from one of my bird friends out in nature. And sure enough, something small, either a wisp of a feather or something significant, like a cardinal feather or something amazing like that. And in those moments, I received a flash, an inspiration in my higher mind that led me to an action that allowed for a synchronicity where I needed to hear, in the case of the cardinal feather, I needed to be able to hear from spirit that they were with me, or that someone heard my requests. And so being in the higher mind allows for moments like that. Another beautiful aspect of the higher mind is the lack of conflict. So when you are traveling down the spiritual path, you're awakening to yourself. And even if you don't want to label it as a spiritual journey, when you're on a journey back home, you're on a journey back home to self. Conflicts cannot help but arise on your path. And this is because you are being given an instance to extract those things from your field or remove them um, from your energy. And so practicing instances where you can get into a higher minded state allows you to move through those conflicts creatively. It allows you to move past things that feel like a burden. And so your higher mind allows you to navigate questions like, is this conflict about me, or is it something from this person's past or something from my past? Being in your higher minded state allows you to access truth and some um, not some concept of limited personal truth. Personal truth is important, but it has a ceiling. It has a place that it cannot go on a universal scale. And the higher mind allows you to access universal truth, which is truth that does not shift with your emotions or your feelings. It just is. And the higher mind allows you to access that kind of truthful information and then integrate that, then pull that into your life and apply it. We're not just here to observe, we're here to use what we gain, work with it, and then extend it to others. And so the higher mind is a great way to access universal truth, which that transcends personal awareness. Another aspect of the higher mind as it in regards to synchronicities is that when you are in your higher minded state, it allows you to connect to our collective consciousness, which is how we are all connected as human beings. There are things that human beings consistently do or become aware of just by the very nature of being human. We see this in babies. There are some things that babies just do because they are connected to that collective consciousness. Evolutionarily speaking, they were handed a handful of gifts and presets, and that's where that collective consciousness is tapped into. And so when you're in your higher mind, you have an opportunity to tap into that field of collective consciousness, and from there you can connect to the synchronicities of the collective as a whole. So let's break that down. What happens is there are moments in the collective where abundance is readily available, or the collective is going through what everybody referred to in 2020 as the dark night of soul, where everybody was sort of thrown into their own shadows and into very desperate and hard places, not minimizing anything that anybody went through. Um, when there's um, a shift in healing for the collective, like movements that have taken place, Black Lives Matter, Me Too, um, you know, many different movements that have gone across time and space in the collective. When you're in the higher mind, you have access to information about what's in the collective, what it's going through, and how this connects to synchronicities is that if you allow yourself to tap into the higher mind and there is something available in there that you want to bring into your life, you can tap into the synchronicities of the collective. So let's say you are opening a new business and it happens to be the astrological time of the year where abundance is readily available, or um, good luck is available, or it's a really social time and that would be really good for your business. If you are in your higher mind, synchronicities will occur in your life that allow you to know when is a good day for certain things to occur, or the energy of a particular meeting that happened to come across your Eventbrite feed or your Facebook feed, and you're like, man, I don't even know how I came across this information, but I saw it and I just knew. The higher mind allows you to have moments like that, those synchronistic moments that are shared by the entire collective for beneficial reasons. And again, you know, I said this in the first video, synchronicities are not always positive, but if it's not a positive moment, if it is a healing moment, your higher mind will allow you to know that as well. And so it is to say that being in your higher mind, this information is available. What I will say is it is important to remember that we flow in and out of the higher mind. And using that word flow, the higher mind also allows for states of flow, again, that being synchronicities. I would use synchronicities and flow state interchangeably for sure. So there are benefits to practicing how to get into the higher mind. The higher mind is full of so many things like empathy, increased awareness, increased ability to see, hear, know what's available to you, what needs healing, increases in intuition. There's a lot of benefits to being in your higher mind, and pulling synchronicities into that can make life move in a flow state that allows you to heal, while at the same time there will be times when something challenging happens, and you're able to kind of laugh and go, okay, what it is, and move forward. um, Synchronicities, higher mind, those things allow you to look at something and again not get stuck. So taking from this discussion, there are opportunities to practice higher mindedness. Those can look like meditation, visualization, um, real-time application when you're in a challenging place, and you use creativity to reframe or shift your mind or view the situation from a different vantage point. You can practice higher mindedness while you're playing. Remember your inner child, at least, the part of you who would have looked at whatever you're going through as a personal mission that has to be won, or you're gonna get the prize at the end of this quest, and you and your friends would go out and have adventures, and if that wasn't your childhood, you can certainly make it up. Practicing higher mindedness is easier than you think, and it can be a thing that allows you to experience joy in new ways. And surprisingly, even though synchronicities come with the higher mind, you will also find, or you could also find, I'll offer it instead of telling you what to do, you could also find that synchronicities, or the need to see them, or the need to experience them, actually become less necessary. There's less of a cling to things, and you engage in the purity of enjoyment, of observation, of not needing to possess anything, but to simply just go, wow, that was beautiful, thank you. And to be even keeled. So invite in the higher mind, invite yourself to take a journey to it, invite yourself to access it. Remember that being in the lower minded, linear space isn't a bad thing. You're probably doing a lot of work in that space, but remember balance. You don't want to stay there all the time, and I don't think you actually can. If you are making forward momentum, remember you're moving even as you're sitting still, and remember to slow down and take a minute to notice the synchronicities that allow you to know that you're in flow, that you're seeing the higher mind, that your doubts are relevant, that you're experiencing life and all that it has to offer, and allow these things to bring you joy and balance to your spiritual journey, even in the hard times. So, with that, I thank you for joining me this evening on this topic. I will see you guys again tomorrow for more on synchronicities. Thank you so much for everybody who participated, and I'll catch you next time. Have a great evening.